Got it. All right.
Welcome to our podcast today. Ask Aaron and Ask EJ. This is Coach Eric Johnson, the brand.
And this is Coach Aaron Thigpen, the source. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you guys are listening to this podcast. We're trying to get back in the swing of things. So we're 3 weeks straight
Right.
back in the saddle. So hopefully we can continue to bring you guys some episodes of some good information. Today, EJ, you want to tell them what we're going to talk about?
Yeah, Aaron, we're going to talk about, really how to communicate to your coach, whether it's your private coach, your travel ball coach, your high school coach, school's starting up again, Eric, athletes, Aaron,
Yeah.
athletes are starting to reconvene for their fall sports, their meetings, all that stuff. And, it's a good way to kind of talk about, how do athletes communicate on a daily basis with their coaches or on a monthly, bi-weekly, whatever. But how to talk to coaches, what prompts them to say stuff to them? Because I think these days, Aaron, a lot of kids kind of walk by their coaches and they're kind of like, that's my coach. What do I say? So I think this is a good way to kind of break the ice and kind of get them to open up and learn how to communicate properly and do that to help them. It's to help them learn how to talk.
Yeah, you know what? I like that terminology you used when you said breaking the ice. I think that's a good way to put it. Um, I guess since COVID, things have changed, and I know they've changed for me, um, in how I communicate sometimes with athletes, because of the whole social distancing and, things like that. It's just made, I guess, interactions even more awkward.
Yes.
And for me, already being kind of quiet for the most part, um, when you can't when you don't shake someone's hand, that's kind of like an icebreaker, and that was kind of taken away from me during COVID.
Right.
And so it gets for all these years you shake a hand, look someone in the eye. Now you can't do that, and it's always felt still awkward, and even to this day, um, because I don't know if it's PTSD from COVID. I don't always shake hands. I forget because I don't know if it's really appropriate, you
Right.
know. So that initial icebreaker is gone, and so now sometimes, and again, I'm an older man, so I can imagine what kids go through. Is you struggle with sometimes you can struggle with that icebreaker moment,
Right.
you know? So now
Yeah.
you're both feeling maybe feeling uncomfortable,
Yeah. Clumsy.
for a while until you kind of have more and more. So it takes maybe more and more interactions to get comfortable with the person
Right. Right.
because the initial one might have been so awkward. And as someone who, I see new clients almost every week,
Right.
I go through this and I can imagine younger kids having to go through this as well. Um, when they're in where they're meeting a new coach. So like all these, freshmen just starting their high school, high school careers
Right.
and meeting coaches and meeting other players and you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
And
I do.
and so that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is, obviously because we're more isolated because of the screens that are in our lives and the interaction with the screens versus with other people. Um, a lot of those skills are starting to fall by the wayside in terms of being able to listen properly, um, follow directions, all of those sorts of things. So I guess, this topic can go in a lot of different directions. I don't know where we're going to actually end up on it, but that was just some of the initial thoughts I had about communication. We did do two podcasts about this back in 2020.
Okay.
Um, One was, are you sending the coach the wrong message? And that kind of speaks to this whole, how are you communicating with your coach or not communicating, and what's that saying directly or indirectly to them? The other was the first conversation, how to speak to a college coach or recruiter. So again, I think communication is a very important thing, whether it's training, whether it's just your, the coach parent interaction, or as the athlete coach interaction. Um, I think it's a skill set that, maybe it's not struggling for you, but maybe it's struggling for others. But I'm finding I'm having a lot more and more awkward conversations with athletes and parents nowadays, way more than before COVID. And I don't know if that's a society thing. Maybe, I don't know if COVID actually changed everyone. I think it's changed some of the mechanics of how we initially interact.
Yeah.
But I thought it'd be an interesting subject.
Man, what a good man. What some good golden nuggets in there, Aaron. I just, I think about the first thing you talk about is like, and I saw myself doing this the other day is like I saw it with my neighbor, right? So my neighbor who I've been neighbor with the past for years and he comes over and I give him a fist bump.
Yeah.
Oh
Well,
man.
you do the whole fist bump,
Yeah.
shake.
Like, what am I doing? I gave some. It's so funny because COVID, like I'll give you a handshake and a bump or I before I used to give you a
Elbow.
hug,
Yeah.
man. What's up? Or just elbow. It's awkward now. You're right. And I think the kids, if we're feeling that, how are the kids feeling that? So some of the things that I try to do with the kids is they come up to me, I go, "Hey, what's up, buddy?" And I give them a bump to let them know that, hey, we can give a bump. Some kids who are home trained, and we talk about home training, will come up to me, look me in the eye, and go, "Coach, how you doing? Can I give you a handshake? I'm a handshake kind of guy." And I would go,
Yeah. Yeah.
"I like this kid.
Yeah.
I like this kid because he's free enough to communicate, say, hey, coach, I want to give you a handshake today." That tells me that at home, they're saying, hey, it's all right to do that. And that's the proper thing to do. Don't feel like it's different. It's all right to do that. So that got me into when you said the first thing, fist bump, handshake, it made me think of all these interactions. And I tell people out there, hey, go shake the guy's hand. Go shake her hand. Go introduce yourself. Go look them in the eye. It tells a lot about your character. I see a lot more kids now, Aaron, kind of shying away, kind of reserve, or they come into a group setting where the coach is at and they kind of walk by, go, I didn't have to say anything to coach. I'm all right. I'm safe.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's almost like a safety valve. I
Yeah.
don't know how you feel about that, but I feel it's like a safety valve. Like, okay, coach is there. He's talking to other coaches. I'm here. He probably saw me, but I'm gonna walk by him. I'm safe now. It's
Yeah.
not a big deal. And I feel kids are that hurts kids. It
Yeah.
hurts the way they go about their work, of how they're doing their sport or whatever they're doing their schoolwork. It's not a good positive influence to where they have some being comfortable. You and I talk about this a lot. How to be comfortable in an uncomfortable situation.
Hmm.
Where I think the kids are uncomfortable and uncomfortable some more. There's no comfortable. No one's mentioning, hey, it's all right that you're in this kind of tough environment. Go be comfortable in it.
Yeah.
No one's talking that way. And that goes to, what we just saying about these interactions with kids. And you said important things. Listening, following directions. Those are foreign concepts to our youth today, in my opinion. It's foreign. Listen, oh, I don't do that. I go look at my screen on my cell phone. Oh, I do this. I follow directions. What does that mean? I don't know directions. I just kind of like look over there and everybody goes there and I follow the crowd. So you said those three things there, and I think about interaction with athletes and their coaches, whether they're in high school, whether they're in youth sports, or even collegiate sports. Like Aaron, I'm trying to tell our graduating seniors, you're going to have to go talk to the head coach. You're going to have to establish a relationship because there's going to be good conversations and tough conversations. If you don't have a relationship prior to one of those circumstances, it becomes more difficult for you.
Yes. That's
So
a great point.
I just
That's a great point.
I think that's important, Aaron. What do you think?
No, I think that's a great point. Is, yeah, you can kind of slide by, like you said, and hide, But when you have to have that conversation, it's a lot tougher to have it because there isn't any foundation of conversation, or I don't know, lack of a better word, comfortability between
Right,
the two of you.
right.
Um, and that also brings me to another point I was going to mention is that I find that there's a lot of athletes are a lot more, and maybe that's just because of the business that I'm in.
Right.
It's training, and it's not necessarily playing for a coach on a team, but it's a lot more transactional.
Oh, I like that.
And so I just think athletes have to understand that there should be a human connection in most of these things, because as someone gets to know you better, they can coach you better. They can
Mm,
train you better. And
mm.
and one of the things I talk about when I'm talking about training is, you hear me say this before. Training is the transfer of information. And whatever filter that goes through, or whatever roadblock that it has to hurdle, it has to go over, that's hard, that's less information you're going to get,
Right.
you know. And the other thing is, as coaches, I think good coaches really, every coach has a process and the technique. It's not just about the techniques and the processes.
Right.
It's about the understanding human nature and human connections.
Mm.
And what's layered on that is the training regimen and the technique
Yeah.
and the tactics. And so, yes, even us as coaches, you guys have to understand we're human beings too.
Right.
And we have good days, we have bad days, and we have personalities, some better, some worse. And so athletes also have to know how to navigate those things as well, and not shut down, or not, you know what I'm saying, kind of
Right.
want to
Right.
go hide in the corner, or that sort of thing. And just like coaches have to kind of give some grace for all the things we have to look at in the formula that makes up an athlete, from not only their physical limitations, but the emotional limitations that we observe, and some of the other things, and we have to make adjustments. And I think athletes, if they're going to get the most out of being on a team or a coach, should also start to learn those skills. And those are skills you're going to need regardless of whether you're out on the baseball field or in some corporate boardroom.
Yeah,
And
man.
I don't think athletes or parents are teaching these young athletes how to read the room, or how to read
Wow.
people. You
Wow.
know, everyone kind of has their blinders on,
Right.
does this thing, and that's it. Whereas I think you can get much more out of the experience and the interaction if you have those blinders off, and you're a little bit more open to all these
Mhm.
exchanges, whether with you directly or with, you know,
Mhm.
other athletes in the gym. And I always talk about it. In my gym, you should be learning through osmosis. If you're standing next to me and I just correct a kid on his arms, you should be thinking, okay, I'm not going to do that on my arm swing. Or
Right.
or coach, do I do that with my arms? Do you see? That's the free flow of information that happens in a really rich environment.
Mhm.
But most people, I think, are just used to, or just think they should only get their information directly. If the coach isn't speaking to me, then he's not speaking to me. But
Oh, I hear you loud and clear.
my thing is, if the coach is speaking to anyone, he's speaking to all of us.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Like Aaron, I mean, read the room. The terms used, read the room, blinders, um, talking to one athlete, everybody's ears need to be out, listening. Oh, do my arms do that, coach? you know, Conversations. Hey, coach, I saw that you were talking to, you know, Paul over there, and his arm swing. Am I doing the same thing? How do my arms look? Am I doing it correctly? Like, what happened to that interaction? It's like it's so funny. When you said blinders, read the room, it made me think about, okay, the plays going on the field, how many guys in the dugout are watching, and what'd you learn from it? And let's talk about it. Because I do a lot of my coaching like that. Like, hey
Mhm.
guys, see that play? What did you see? What's wrong with it? What would you do differently? And
Mhm.
some of them are like, I didn't see that. What are you watching then? You sit on the bench, but they're so like one-dimensional blinders, like,
Yeah.
and their thoughts, the level of concentration. When you said that read the room blinders, I thought level of concentration. How engaged are the athletes?
That was the word I was just going to use, is engaged. You can be passively engaged or you can be actively engaged. And most people, I think, are just only engaged when they're being actively engaged. you know,
Right, yeah.
Otherwise, you know, again, maybe I'm just a little bit different, but I just always, and maybe because I was the young guy with older athletes, I was always observing.
Right. Well, of course, right?
You know,
Of course, you should be observing. I think what you and I see as like that's like a standard thing. That's a regular thing.
yeah.
Being engaged, okay, and then watching. Like that's like that happens.
Mhm.
And the conversations, because we're going to talk about this, how to speak to your coach and having a conversation. Everything's so one-on-one now. There's why can't you open up and have peripheral vision and hearing
Yes.
and gather information? See,
Yes.
there's an information of there's a highway of information out there for us to encompass that makes us who we are.
Yes.
I find that we get so one dimensional in that information, we forget how to grow. When we have these conversations with coaches, it prepares us because you said this, whether it's in the athletic field or a boardroom or interacting with people, that's how we gather that information so we can come back together to have these conversations in the boardroom or out on the field or somewhere. We're not allowing our athletes to do that anymore. It's
Mhm.
like, no, you only can do this. It's kind of like when you and I were growing up. The street lights way. We went out, parents kicked us out of the house. Those street lights, were on. We're out playing. And when they came turned off, we all gathered back together. But that time where they were on, we were gathering this information, playing, outside discovering, doing all that stuff. Now it's so insular that we
Yeah.
don't know how to communicate properly to our coaches, our teachers, our parents, elders. What if we get in trouble with the law? How do we communicate to the judge? Or whatever. It's like, huh? What? Hey, I'll text you, judge. It doesn't work that way. And what we're trying to say out there to the audience is, please allow your athletes to communicate. And yeah, maybe they don't say the right thing, but they start talking to learn how to say the right thing.
Yes. Yes. No, that's excellent way. Excellent way
Yeah.
to put that. You're right. Right. Yeah, information doesn't have to happen in a vacuum. Information is swirling around you every practice. There's things that you can learn directly and there's things that you can learn indirectly. And but sometimes you have to prime the pump. You have to be the one
Mm,
to start the conversation. And that's what I want athletes to start to think about. Um, because if you're not inquisitive about how to get better, then you're limiting yourself onto the amount of information you have access to. Because no one can read your mind. I can give you what I think you need to know,
right.
but that doesn't mean it's going to answer all of your questions.
Yes, sir.
So, in addition to that, you've got to be able to ask me, this is what I want to know.
Hmm.
So,
Absolutely.
and all that starts with, again, communication. Like I said, I've got to do better at the icebreaker thing.
Right,
Some of these
exactly.
kids have to do better, but somehow you got to learn to, I guess, figure out where to meet people in the middle that's still comfortable, you
Yeah.
know, for all of us. But we all have something to gain, I think, from better interactions, and that starts with, like how we communicate.
Yeah. Well said, Aaron. Well said today. Well said. Well, Aaron, I don't have anything else to say about that. How do I know you feel good about that, but it's good to be able to communicate to the people out there. I'm glad they listened to us today in our podcast, and we ask you to continue to listen to what we have to say out there. We have a lot of great subjects that we're going to be tapping in over here in the next year. So remember, hit us up again at Ask Aaron and Ask EJ. This is Coach Eric Johnson, the brand.
This is Coach Aaron Thigpen, the source. We'll see you.